Hi, everybody. Hope you have a very happy New Year's weekend. Boy, we certainly need it the way the world is in so much turmoil. Wishing you all a lot of success and happiness in 2024. We've been talking about the polar vortex today, natural gas, how the Antarctic Oscillation Index will affect grain and coffee markets. First, this is what I got for the Christmas Hanukkah holiday. That's about it because of all my tennis sneakers I've been wearing for years. Bye bye, stinky feet. Bye bye, loneliness. Hello, 2024. Yes, we have interesting changes in the weather. This is called stratospheric warming. That's going to push some colder weather into the United States and Europe during January when it warms up aloft, 20 miles up in space or so, into the 40s and 50s aloft. You can get cold and snowy weather. Certainly, we've had a very warm early winter, something I predicted for my clients weeks ago, and the collapse in natural gas prices back in November and through mid-December. That may be coming to an end. So we have these polar vortexes. The one over the North Pole staying there has resulted in a warm December. The one over the South Pole staying there is the Antarctic Oscillation Index. When it remains stationary, like it will be over Antarctica for the next couple weeks, that results in a weather pattern for northern Brazil soybeans and coffee. Yes, the South American soybean crop has come down at least 5 to 6 million metric tons, but we still have relatively ample stocks. Yes, they're tight, but the weather in Argentina and southern Brazil will somewhat make up for the losses in northern Brazil with planting delays and dry weather that we've had over the last month or two. So let's go back to the natural gas market for a minute. Typically, during El Ninos, we see prices down to $2, at least the last two El Ninos. Certainly, the last couple of winters have been warm because of record warm global oceans, the melting Arctic, what I believe is certainly climate change. Look at how we've had below normal snow cover much of Canada there in red over the last month or so. One reason why we call it this whole move down in natural gas prices over the last 4 to 5 weeks, as well as very large stocks above the 5 year average. Our initial forecast back in October was for a warm winter, particularly in December, and that has certainly happened. But things may be changing because of the stratospheric warming I talked about a second ago. Again, we were bearish natural gas around $3 with a -7 spider. We offer these spiders to Weatherwell subscribers to our newsletter every week for corn and soybeans and cocoa and coffee and natural gas, you name it, with various moisture and global weather indices, as well as the economic factors, seasonality. Are too many people leaning heavily long or short? That's where the anti-herd mentality comes in. This was back in late November. Too many people long the market. And generally, became bearish at those higher prices. So we have this warming event aloft, which doesn't happen all the time above 10 to 20 miles up in space. But when it does happen, it can result in colder weather. So there's only been about 4 or 5 cases when there's been an El Nino and stratosphere warming in December 2015, 1966, 2007, 2019. Look at the colder weather in blue and purple for both February and possibly January there. Nothing extreme yet, so I'm not saying I'm overly bullish natural gas, but something we'll be watching for our natural gas clients as well as grain traders. Certainly with the warming Arctic, we may not see cold periods like we did back in the 1960s and 70s, but nevertheless, a colder outlook with some more snow is in store. The situation also with stratospheric warming can also affect the weather for West African cocoa. Typically, we see Hurricane winds during strong El Nino events. Look at this back in 82, 83 with a spike up in cocoa during January and February, that dusty wind that sometimes happens in West Africa. But because of the stratospheric warming event and the NAO index becoming negative, we are looking for higher dew points and not a strong Harmattan wind this year. That's going to offset the bullish El Nino signal. As you see on Weather Spider, which was very bullish all summer and fall long, catching a huge move for Weather Wealth clients of several $1,000s plus a contract, is more neutral right now. The anti-herd mentality, too many people long the market, is very bearish at a -4. The chart pattern is still relatively friendly, +3, as well as the previous global weather and crop damage to cocoa from all the wet weather and disease issues during the summer and fall is still relatively bullish. But notice the moisture index is slightly bearish. Things are beginning to improve. And if we get below this trend line in cocoa, that could set up a potential bear market. So how do you trade options and futures and ETFs and all this stuff? We're offering you a 2-week free trial period of the Weather Well. Make sure you download a past free issue of Weather Well. See some of my recent trade advice in grains and coffee and soybeans, as I mentioned, uh, cocoa as well, and learn how to use the weather to hopefully diversify your portfolio. Have a very safe, happy 2024.